See you on the other side. The final week of the Fantasy MLR regular season is here. Some will make playoffs, some won't. And we break it all down, see what the best plays for this week 14 are, while also taking a look back at if week 13's action gave us any insight. The Fantasy Ruckers show starts right now.
Where rugby and the world of fantasy sports collide. Welcome to the Fantasy Ruckers Show, bringing fantasy rugby to the masses, talking all things rugby from the MLR to leagues around the world. We're on top of it. Headphones on, pads off. This is the Fantasy Ruckers Show. Now, here are your hosts, Ryan Yee, Matt Yee, and Devin Vanderpool.
What's up, everybody? This is episode 154 of the Fantasy Ruckers Show. Thank you so much to our Fantasy Ruckers League members, our community members, and everyone else tagging along on this journey of making fantasy rugby a reality in the MLR with you each and every single week. Matt Yee, Devin Vanderpool, I am Ryan Yee. And boys, we're heading into the final week of the regular season. We still got some games to go here in round 13, but it comes down to this. And we got some crazy things. We were doing the math, guys, on who's making playoffs, who's not. It's coming down to the wire. I cannot believe that we are in the last week of Fantasy MLR regular season. It feels like it's flown by. Boys, how you feeling?
Well, I just think the people should know that those fantasy managers, many of them are probably doing much better than the Anthem are right now because the Anthem are already eliminated from playoffs. So if you are not eliminated from playoffs, congratulations, you are better than a professional rugby team.
Does that maybe deserve a little bit of a round of applause for all the people doing better than the Anthem?
I got a round of applause for you.
It's called the pity applause.
After years and years and years, finally made the playoffs.
There. Let's hear it.
Kind of a weak celebration.
That is a kind of a weak celebration. I would have expected more.
Like,
can you let it out, please?
Hey, you know what?
Let's go. No, Vandy, let's try that again. Vandy, let's try that again. Vandy,
I wasn't saying that. I was saying what to celebrate. It's kind of a weak thing to celebrate.
No. I think Vandy,
getting excited.
I think it's
getting excited about drinking water.
I've been playing fantasy rugby for almost 1,000 days.
Oh yeah,
it's true.
I mean, if you count the off season too.
No. I give you credit. This is a big moment. You know, let's run it back a little bit. Vandy. Let's do it again. Let's get real amped up for this. Do it how in like in our college days. Let's hear you get amped up. Let's try it again. Let's go.
I'm a father of two now, but ladies and gentlemen, this is what you've all been waiting for. Finally, the Rucking Goat makes the playoffs for the first time. 2025.
I think your Zoom filter is too good and it took away your boom, but we heard it though. Boom.
Heard it in my heart, in my stomach.
There you go.
My soul.
In your soul. But nah, hey, Vanny, great to hear, man. And we'll break that down this episode. Obviously, a lot on the line when it comes to there's a lot on the line when it comes
Warriors,
to
thank you.
Yeah.
I drafted half of the team, so thank you for doing as amazing as you've done because thanks to you, I've done amazing.
There you go.
You know what? I think we can all learn a great lesson out of this one.
Fandom. I
think really what just happened is that we've seen that truly, in the great words of Kevin Garnett, that anything is possible. We see a man like Vandy, bit of a pylon, bit of a plug. And
he is wearing orange today.
Even he can make playoffs. So can you. Except if you're named the Anthem.
That's true.
Then you can't.
There you go. Well, hey, bringing it back full circle. Yes, I guess congratulations to all of our fantasy managers, including Vandy, who have been able to do what the Anthem have not. Something I was going to bring up in our news and notes segment, but hey, it's important stuff to talk about. But hey, we got a jam-packed episode on top of all of that exciting stuff to talk about in terms of the last regular season week of Fantasy MLR. Of course, we have a busy week to talk, or a busy week that has happened that we need to talk about. A whole slew of games that happened over the weekend. At the time of recording this podcast, still got one more game to go because we decided that Monday night rugby is something that we want to also introduce on top of all the other days that we've had rugby in this season. I think the only day remaining after we have, I believe, I guess today's matchup, when this podcast is released, is Tuesday matchup for Old Glory DC. We'll have played rugby on every single day except for Thursday. So there is that. So we are going to have a little bit of a guest appearance of maybe some time traveling powers
Whoa.
and editing powers when it comes to Ryan from the future stepping
I
in
heard
here
that guy's way cooler.
to
Yeah,
get
you know what? There's been rumors about future Ryan.
there. Yeah, there you go. To give us you guys
That
better
guy's a circle. This guy's just a
you,
square.
you guys better be worried on the knowledge that future Ryan has. You thought you were scared of
Might
Supreme
have all
Commissioner
of the knowledge.
Supreme Commissioner Yi in the present, Supreme Commissioner Yi in the future. It's something to be concerned about. But
Veto.
either way,
Veto. I veto that. I'm your commissioner now.
yeah. So we will have a drop by from a little bit of a time jump here to update us on everything that goes down between now and the release of this podcast. And but until then, we'll break down all of the stuff that did happen over the weekend, waiver wire breakdown, latest news, and look ahead to the matches to come in this final week of Fantasy MLR regular season before we jump into the playoffs.
Well, before we get in, I hope Future Ryan brings up all the sick new website features that people need to be looking out for. So
Well,
Future
no,
Ryan,
I think
click
no,
in,
no, no,
lock in. You need to
no.
listen.
Let's talk about that now. I think present Ryan is too excited about the features that we won't save this for the league update. Let's talk about it now, and it's a nice segue into, if you haven't checked it out already, go to the fantasyruckers.com, the official platform for Fantasy MLR here on the Fantasy Ruckers Show. Alistair Kirschpool just continues to be a magician. And the goal of our whole mission of making Fantasy MLR reality, a part of it is to make the barriers of entry, make the fantasy experience when it comes to Major League Rugby as enjoyable as possible. Don't try to allow you to enjoy the game all through the website and not have to go elsewhere for that. And we took a huge step over the weekend with the introduction of some very cool stuff on the lineup pages for people, where now, if you are in a season-long league, you have now a notification and a symbol for when players have locked and already played their games. You have a symbol now of players that are in the starting lineup heading into the week. So no more scouring social media, scouring the Discord on trying to figure out who is and who is not starting. All of that now can be done through the website. So again, no more. The lineup decisions are all there in front of you. So all you got to do is open up the fantasyruckers.com. And really, at this point now, outside of maybe any extra research that you want to do, everything can be done through the fantasyruckers.com. So again, big shout out to Alistair Kirschpool for getting that all done over the weekend. It's a really, really cool feature. In our weekly meeting I had with him, I emphasized that this just makes the fantasy experience just that much more enjoyable, especially for new users. And I couldn't be more excited to, again, lower those barriers of entry for people that obviously enjoy Major League Rugby and are very knowledgeable about it, to people like Vandy of the past who maybe weren't so knowledgeable about it and can now learn through Fantasy MLR and join Fantasy Rugby. So really cool stuff. Again, check out the fantasyruckers.com. If you haven't signed up for a league, you can play the weekly challenge. It's been a lot of fun. I can confirm that those same tools will be coming to the weekly challenge very, very soon. And while you're checking that out, hey, why don't you give this video a like, subscribe to the Fantasy Ruckers YouTube channel, hit that bell to be notified on when we release episodes every single week. Follow us on socials at the Fantasy Ruckers, handles up above if you're watching on the YouTube video, down below in the description. Also join the Discord. Had our brand newest member join the Discord today. So the community continues to grow with all that good stuff. All right, no more time to waste. Let's hop right into it and talk about the latest happenings from around the league.
News dump.
All right, time for our TFR news dump here in episode 154. Maddie stole the thunder in terms of what I wanted to lead off with this news dump, but it is official. Anthem Rugby Carolina
These guys stink.
have been eliminated from playoff contention after their Week 13 loss to RFCLA with still 4 matches.
What was your Beckham bets?
I mean, technically, my book at bets was that they were going to be.
When you start a sentence off with technically, it's probably a lie.
Yeah.
What was your book of
My
bets?
book at bets was they were going to get over 2.5 wins.
3.5.
No, I think it was 2.5.
Either way.
Not going to get it. But what I'm
Well,
saying is technically
they
they could.
could.
That's what I'm saying. If for some reason they have a scorcher of an end of the season, either way, what is confirmed is that Anthem Rugby Carolina will not be in playoffs. I was thinking about this. These are the shower thoughts that I have, and I was thinking how
Oh,
bad I feel for Anthem Rugby Carolina for.
really? Sucking?
Yes, but the fact that they're 2 seasons into this thing, almost done 2 seasons, and they still looking there for their franchise first win. We got to go into the history books of all of sports. All of sports. Is there a franchise out there that you can think of that has had this difficult of a start in all of sports? I don't know. I don't know.
Maybe not a start, but the Cleveland Browns definitely were really bad for like a decade.
That's
at
true.
least.
But not a single franchise win. A single franchise win. I mean,
They're
this
here
might
till
be a
20,
storyline that we're
2030,
talking about
whatever,
all
2031. They're going to be here till 2031. Just losing. It's a lot of time.
New book at bets. Over under
6 more years.
under 0.5 wins in the next 5 years.
I'll take that. I'll take the
That's an
over
easy.
on that.
That's an easy over.
See, we said that, but I was also saying the same thing. I mean,
Yeah, if you would have said in the next 2 years is Anthem win a game, I also would have took the over.
right, exactly. It feels hard to fathom, but either way, yeah, Anthem Rugby Carolina. Good luck next year in trying to make the playoffs. This year ain't happening. Sticking with
Yeah, Jake
Anthem
Turnbull
Rugby
back on.
Carolina news, it looks like they are making some front office moves, or I should say, coaching moves.
This will help.
Ex-Dallas Jackals boss, Augustin Cavalieri, has taken over as head coach for the rest of MLR 2025 for Anthem Rugby Carolina. It is unclear at this time what previous head coach, Alama Ieremia, role with the franchise is right now. So...
Cool. I mean, that's actually cool. I like that. I mean, if there's anybody who knows the struggle of being a 0-win team, it is him, who has coached the Dallas Jackals, and he brought them from the depths.
That's true.
Up into the stanchions and back to the ground.
Yeah. back to the abyss of the lost teams that we've had in this MLR league. But yeah, I guess if there's any other person to do it, it's a guy that has been with the Dallas Jackals before, who has, like you said, Matt, taken them from the depths. Okay, shifting on to some other news to get less grim here when it comes to talking about Anthem Rugby Carolina. Let's talk about our yearly chat about getting Vandy ready for the MLR draft. Vandy, have you started your workouts yet?
To get this guy enrolled back in
really good. You know, I've been doing jumps out of the pool.
Okay.
That's
good.
I haven't landed one yet, but like hell of a lot of attempts.
Okay. That's okay.
Just jumping in the pool.
Nice.
Nice.
You know those videos when it comes around draft time in the NFL, when these prospects are like putting out on social like really cool workout
Want me to
videos?
make one for you?
You need to post one here for the Fantasy Ruckers community.
I'll make one.
Okay. All right. Because, Vandy, if you didn't know, the registration deadline for the 2025 MLR draft is June 30th. So get on that. You got a little over a month to get into tip-top match shape. Better match shape than what Semi Kunitani has been this season so far. And
you know
he didn't deserve that.
If I hop off the Bud Light diet, there's a shot.
No, you can keep that. It's okay. But eligibility requirements, 21 years old at least, or 3 years of college or university. Check and check,
Okay.
right, Vandy?
Yeah,
Good
I got
old
that.
Fanshawe College. Yeah, I remember that. I got you.
That's right. We called it Funshaw, but
this one you might be lacking in, so we may have to take you to like a community college here to get signed up within the next month. But you have had to have played college rugby during the 24-25 academic year. So I don't know. Is there some stuff that we can do to get you?
I think after they see my film, I think I might get grandfathered
True.
into that one.
Okay.
True.
Okay. That's true. They make some exceptions. There's always room for exceptions. Yeah. So there we have it. 2025 MLR draft registration open. June 30th, 2025 is when it closes. It's been around since 2020, and has been a top way for college rugby players to get into MLR and start pro. So, hey, kind of cool that it's kind of open to anyone and leaves the dream slightly cracked open for
I don't know,
those.
man. In my old age anymore, one knock, I'm done. Like
That's
I'm
okay.
done. I'm
That's
laying there,
okay.
stretch your whole 9 yards.
That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, you guys would love it just for that film.
Oh,
That one short of me getting my head taken off, you're like, yeah, worth it.
that would make this whole thing, everything that what we've been doing for the past however long we've been doing it would make it worth it. Incredible. Either way, again, draft just around the corner. I guess that's what the deadline is 2 days after the MLR championship, which we should mention again, June 28th. Some exciting stuff happening here with the Fantasy Ruckers when it comes to that championship weekend. Stay tuned for more information on that as we try to continue to solidify plans. Last piece of news, unless Maddie has heard anything from any of his deep dark sources, but do want to talk about something outside of Major League Rugby, but obviously very important when it comes to international rugby and rugby around the world. The Lions roster, the British and Irish Lions roster has been announced. Mario Itoje is the captain. The English lock will be captaining that side, and he joins, I believe, 15 Irishmen, 13 Englishmen, 8 Scottishmen, and 2 Welshmen as part of that squad going forward. Maddie, the British and Irish Lions are something that we always try to kind of follow about. It's always one of the most fun things about international rugby. I always look forward to it. Just reactions to the roster that came out here.
Yeah.
A lot of new faces.
I'm looking forward to the series. A lot of versatility, a lot of good players, a lot of studs. Vandy, for your context,
and for anyone
British
that's
Irish
brand
Lions,
new to rugby,
the best players from Ireland, England, Wales, Scotland come together every 4 years to play a 3-game series against alternating between South Africa, New Zealand, Australia. This year's Australia. 4 years from now, it's going to be New Zealand, and in 4 years, it's going to be South Africa. And this happens once every 4 years.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So the British and Irish Lions, a long staple of the best of kind of Northern Hemisphere rugby, or I guess British and Irish rugby. I got to send you one of my favorite things that comes out of this tour is the behind the scenes documentary that comes out. The one that I remember was the British and Irish Lions 2013. Yeah, just some of the speeches you see, Vandy. I got to send it to you. It's intense. All you have to do, Vandy, tying this into your draft preparation. All you have to do is watch that speech. Who made the speech, Maddie? I can't remember. The Irishman.
It was Andy Farrell.
Yeah.
Or are you talking about the player?
Or the other guy.
Talking about the player?
Yeah, the big ball guy.
O'Connell.
Either of those speeches, they'll make you run through a wall, Vandy. You'll be fired up to hit the pitch after seeing that. So we'll get that sent to you.
And just the last couple things. We'll make sure to leave some time for future Ryan to talk because we're not going to leave him too much space if we go on for too long. A couple things, Ryan. One, your source was clearly wrong. David Kutzer was in the lineup this weekend.
No.
And he definitely is not out for long term. Jason Potros has been out longer. Harrison Boyle has been out longer.
Okay.
And you didn't mention any of these guys. Where were your sources for those ones? I'm a bit concerned with your source. How can we trust your source?
No.
Your source is your bump.
No.
All right.
I am sticking with it.
Next one. No, we got to leave it for future Ryan. So next one. Wait, what do you have to say?
No, it's okay. I'll save it for our Houston breakdown. I got some stuff to talk about.
Okay, fine. The next one, there are some rumors or I guess conversations that are apparently happening regarding a U.S. Super Rugby team leading up to 2031. This has been in conversations on both, I think, in the kind of some news outlets, but also on like Sky Sports New Zealand, their talk show in the breakdown was talking about it as well. They were basically, their breakdown was like, they got to play American players. If they play American players, they're going to get pumped. And that's about it. So, yeah. We'll see how that goes,
that would be an absolute bloodbath. If that was, it would be one thing to have an American-based team where you're bringing over overseas players to play here, but if you have an emphasis, it would be the Anthem Rugby. Look at the Anthem Rugby Carolina project and how it's doing in the MLR. It would be quite similar to how that would be in Super Rugby, if not more. Again, the intentions and the ideology is there. Really appreciate that, but I don't know if that's the best thing for the product on the field. All right, let's send it out now to future Ryan with a Commissioner Yee's league update.
It stinks.
Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. Hear ye, hear ye. Here is future Supreme Commissioner Yee with a Fantasy Ruckers Leagues update. Matt says future Ryan sucks. I don't know about that, and that might be indicated by the results of the weekly challenge this week, but it is time to update everyone with the latest happenings from around the Fantasy Ruckers Leagues, and of course, with the late night Utah Warriors matchup that is now completed on Monday night. We have the final results for Week 13. And let me tell you, with all of our leagues, especially heading into the last regular season week of the Fantasy MLR year, it's coming down to the wire with some teams outside looking in when it comes to where they sit with those playoff rankings, which we'll talk a little bit more about here, and some teams kind of grasping on here in this last week to make it into the playoffs. But let's start off here like we do every week with the weekly challenge. And yeah, like I said, Maddie says future Ryan sucks, but it looks like future Ryan knows how to pick his players, at least for the past few weeks when it comes to the weekly challenge. But guess who is up top once again this year? I gotta look back at the episodes and see who's finished most number ones. I may be down in the rankings because I had some pretty tough weeks, but either way, though, Ryan Yee finishes at the top of the board when it comes to the round 13 weekly challenge, sitting at 53.3 fantasy points. Shout out to Stephen Lowen, who finishes in second, just 3 points behind myself. And the Fantasy Ruckers team doing pretty good here, sitting at third. I'll give a shout out to our lone community member, I Am Sleeves, who finishes the highest out of them all at number 4. Maddie down in 7th. Vandy, another tough week, but we say consistency is key. In 11th place, he's 11th on the season. I am still 8th on the season. Matt still hanging on, even though the 7th place finish at first place overall. Just doing the quick maths here. It is him in first. Trailed behind, I want to say the Fantasy Ruckers by just 75 points. So quite a bit here. Maddie's built himself a pretty big league here. But either way, week 13, it's all about the future Supreme Commissioner Yee who comes in here. All right, let's talk about some other updates that are happening with some of our Fantasy Ruckers leagues. Like we mentioned throughout this show, it is the final week of the regular season. And just to give everyone a clear cut breakdown of how this final week and playoffs are going to work. We'll also announce it on the Discord community, but it is the top 4 teams. Whether you are in a 6-team league or an 8-team league, it will be the top 4 teams that do make it to the playoffs that begin next week. So again, that will be decided here in this final week and finalized heading in to round 14. And then 15 starting off the semifinal matchups. It will be obviously the most amount of wins that is going to dictate that. We will also make sure that the ties are calculated properly so that you are ahead of those people that if you do have a better record in the ties that you are standing in front. And then from there, it will be the points for that is the tiebreaker for that. Again, coming down to the wire in a lot of different leagues. I know in the listener league, Vandy coming clutch for me, beating John Fitzpatrick of Rugby Morning to keep me in the 1-win lead in that column for that final playoff spot in the listener league. And we will see. I do face John Fitzpatrick this week, and I believe the way that it is going to break down, the final playoff spot is going to come down to if Fitzy can beat me in this final week, but also because I'm ahead in the tiebreaker by at least 50 points. So definitely seen crazier things in the world of Fantasy MLR, but again, just a little snapshot of how crazy it is, at least in one of our leagues, and I can expect in all of our leagues coming down to this final regular season week. So again, final regular season week, 4 teams make playoffs following this week. We'll start next week with semifinals. And just for those of you who do miss playoffs, hey, you still got something to play for because the toilet bowl bracket will also be created. So those of you that don't make playoffs, you'll still have something to play for. The best of the rest, I guess we'll say, here in our iconic toilet bowl brackets that will be set up across our leagues. Yeah, so it should be fun heading into this final week. I will say to stick with some website stuff. We mentioned at the top of the show. Got to give a shout out to Alistair Kirschpool once again with the changes that happened to our website, the updates, some of those symbols and kind of notifications that are on, especially the lineup page when it comes to guys that are starting in lineups that are been played with the lock symbol and things like that. Just it's so helpful. So helpful. And again, our goal is to try to make sure that the barriers to play fantasy MLR are as low as possible. And with things like this, to be able to self-contain all the information on the fantasyruckers.com, where you can go on there and have everything that you need to play fantasy MLR at the bare minimum. This is a massive step towards that. So again, huge shout out to that. That change there from our very own website guru, Alistair Kirschpool. And like I mentioned before, those changes and updates will also be coming to the weekly challenge, which will, of course, continue through the final weeks of regular season. So Fantasy MLR, even though it's the final MLR regular season week, it still goes on for the rest of the year, including playoffs. We'll have a playoff weekly challenge as well, and those updates should be coming there, which should make it a lot more fun and accessible as well. I think that's about everything with that. So to kind of toss it back to past Ryan and Maddie and Vandy, again, weekly challenge. Ryan's on top. Love to see it.
Quick tap recap.
All right. Well, thank you, future Ryan, for giving us an update on everything that went
Guys
down
stink.
Good
after.
guy, eh? Oh,
Yeah, great
never
guy.
mind. We don't
Yeah,
like
I told
future
you
Ryan.
the power of future Supreme Commissioner Yi. I envy that guy. I want to be like that guy. I think
That's
I
who
might
you're
be.
always chasing.
Yeah, always
Like
chasing.
Matthew McConaughey said,
Yeah,
yourself in 10 years or
Oh,
something like
yeah.
that.
There you go.
all right, all right, all right.
But
All
yeah,
right.
thank you, future Ryan, for getting us updated with all the finalized fantasy
Hey, can we do
MLR
the show
weekly
with
challenge
future
updates and
Ryan
everything
next
like
week?
that. What?
Can we do the show
Yeah,
with
we
future
technically
Ryan next
are.
week?
We technically are.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
No, you know
thankfully.
what? This present Ryan, though. I'll even try past Ryan.
Wow. Wow.
You film tomorrow. We'll film for next week. You got to guess it all.
Okay. I
We'll
guess
see how right or wrong you were.
we'll piece it all together. We've opened up a new can of worms. All right. Well, hey, let's get into week 13's quick tap recap on bye for fantasy purposes. DC. I know that DC technically is slotted into this week 13 cycle with their game happening tonight. But they, for again, in fantasy intents and purposes, has been put on bye because they were not available for this cycle play. They do have the NOLA Gold match happening tonight, but again, not part of week 13 from a fantasy side. So let's move on to the first matchup. We had no midweek games last week, but we opened up with a rainy, wet, not so great NOLA Gold versus Miami Sharks game. And yeah, it got delayed, got further delayed. I was, if, at least from a betting sense, as soon as I saw the weather and all this happening, I was like, I should bet the under. There is no way that this match is going to go on the over. I don't know what it was at the time of the final lock of it, but they took down the line as soon as 7 o'clock hit, and they pushed the game to 9 o'clock. Miami comes out on top here, 25-19. But
Nola, do at it again.
yeah. In my eyes, though, this is kind of one that you chalk up as, I mean, rainy weather game. Could have gone either way. Happened to go Miami's way this time. Just messy overall and really hard to understand what both of these teams were kind of bringing to the table here with how the weather went.
Yeah, but these are the games that as a good side you need to win. So I don't know. I think it's tough. I think it's classic NOLA kind of losing it at the end of the year as we come to the final games of the season. But we'll see. Miami Sharks are on a roll. Absolutely on a roll.
Putting
You
it
know, it's
into
tough
then
that
into context, do you think Miami at this point in time is better than NOLA?
Ooh. I don't know. I think that Jonah Moe yellow at 59 minutes, I think that was a killer. I think that kind of swayed the game. I mean, Marcos Young scores right at the end. Then Damian Stevens pops it in. I don't know. That's one I think put him in better weather, and I think Nola does better. I think Nola wins that in good weather.
But Matthew has a point, though. Good teams find a way to win, and especially as we tail into the last final 3 weeks of, or I should say, final 4 weeks of play in the MLR season, the MLR regular season, not fantasy season. You got to win those games, especially when you're sitting outside looking in NOLA Gold sense right now in 5th place, 4-8. Miami, like you said, Maddie, they're 6-6 right now. They're 3rd in the East, which
NOLA has to win tonight.
Well, I mean, being 6-6 and a point differential of -46 isn't really a recipe for longevity, but
fair enough. And in fairness, with 2 wins in hand, they're only 2 points ahead of NOLA. So that can flip very, very,
Mhm.
very quickly. But either way,
Yeah. What we do know is the East sucks.
yeah.
yeah, well,
Which has been a story of this league for quite some time. But either way, fantasy performers though, Manuel Ardeo decides to
Classic.
classic performance again. Like Ardeo
dude,
has
guy's
been
goated.
fantastic, right? Like he has a way. I feel like we haven't talked about him enough. Like he's come up on this show every once in a while, but I mean, this guy's gone 5 straight weeks with double-digit fantasy point performances. The past 2 weeks, he scored above 17. This past week, 18.1. Plays a full 80, scores 2 tries, his 3rd and 4th of the season, 7 tackles, and what he does best, 2 breakdown steals.
Classic.
Ardeo, do you think he was underrated going into the season? Like, should he be in the conversations up there with the Jonah Moes, the who is getting drafted at the top of the list there? Should Ardeo been in consideration as the one of the top back rows off the board?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I think we did have him. I mean, we had him up
Yeah.
there, I
Yeah.
thought. But yeah, I don't know. I think, yeah, I guess in that sense, because he wasn't drafted that high in most leagues, he was underrated. You're right.
Marcos Young, Vandy, like you mentioned, 10.3, plotting in that late try. Outside of that, really not any fantasy relevant point performers on the Miami side. NOLA side, too, to shout out. Isaac Tutamaki, 13.7. Still under owned. He's got now 4 straight weeks in double-digit fantasy point performances. Every single match
Yep.
he's played, he's played the full 80. Didn't even need a try this week. Decides to go 72 meters gained, a try assist, and 5 tackles, including a steal. Tutamaki needs to be rostered, and we'll talk about him more
Yes, sir.
in the fantasy side of things and the waiver side of things. But 29% owned right now is heinous for a player that is marquee. And really picking up in the form despite that bad weather. And then lastly, Jonah Moe, 11.9, scores another try, his 6th of the season. Only plays 65 minutes with the yellow card there, which was tough, and he would have had a much better performance fantasy-wise if he hadn't got that yellow card. But try 13 meters gained, 12 tackles, and three breakdown steals, which is his high of the season.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's move on now to the Saturday matchups. Had 3 of them to go over here. We start off with the New England Free Jacks Chicago Hounds in what was a battle between 2 Eastern Conference teams, 2 teams that you expect to be duking it out here towards the tail end of the season to get top spot in the Eastern Conference. You imagine that they'd be duking it out come playoff time as well. We say that the Eastern Conference is kind of lackluster. These 2 teams definitely are not when it comes to that. It felt like at times Chicago was going to take it, but again, New England decides and finds a way to win these big matchups. And now they find themselves 7 points up in the standings, above Chicago, 9-3 record. New England seems to be in full form right now, even with the absence of Jason Petros. They do it with Dan Holland's head. This team is rolling after what was a pretty concerning start to the season. They are now doing New England things.
Yeah. I mean, look, New England, as a team who didn't really necessarily dominate possession or territory in this game, these are the types of games that you see champions and future champions and former champions win, where, you make the most of what you got with the ball that you get, with the possession that you have. And they certainly did that in this game. So kudos to them. I mean, they're having quite the end to the season. And we should have saw this coming the whole time, because this is exactly what they do every year. Comes around, they peak right at the right time.
Yeah, honestly, it's like, I mean, next season it feels like that they're doing it. And again, New England comes away 27-17 victory. Again, a lot larger than what I thought it was going to be, but a 10-point margin, pretty incredible there. I will say that that try Most with the kick on the Chicago sides. I know it doesn't count as any more points, but I believe it was Noah Brown who just absolutely comes over top off the kick off of, I believe, Holland's head, I want to say. I think I'm getting it right, right? It was the Chicago side of things that did that. It was absolutely disgusting. But to stick it with the New England side of things, have you bought in yet, Matt? Have you bought in? Balikana? 17.4 fantasy points. I know you've been up and down. Balikana is a guy that you've had issues in the past buying in, but he's gone 4 straight weeks now above 12 points. Back-to-back weeks, 17 fantasy points, 17.4.
Looks like vintage Balikana back.
It feels like he's finding a way to score every single game, which is, I guess, why you're riding that hot streak.
This is what he used to do.
It's true.
It's what he used to do. And in the past year, last year, and the start of this year, we didn't see that. But now it seems like he's turned it around, and we're seeing a great Balikana since round 8. And who's ever picked him up and believed in him, good on you. But we love to see it.
17.4 tries scored in this past week. His 9th of the season, 81 meters gained to add on that, and getting physical as well. 11 tackles for him too. 5 of the past 6 weeks has now been over 12 fantasy points, scoring a large bulk of his points here. He's only not scored above double digits 3 times this season, which is pretty crazy. Again, largely try dependent, but that's what you get with back 3 players. Other New England guys, Jed Melvin.
Always.
Yeah. I mean,
2020 double.
Yeah. Double meters gained, double digit tackles, 21 tackles in this one. Is that what we're calling it now? Is this a rugby double?
No, it's not double. I think we should do like 2020. 2020 is pretty impressive, I think.
Okay. So 2020, 20 meters gained, 20 tackles, and a try to add to that for 16.3 points for Jed Melvin. Joe Johnston, 18 tackles, 28 meters gained, so 2 tackles shy of the 2020, and adds a try to that as well. And then outside of that, Dan Hollinshead, solid off the boot. He's been good in fill-in duty. 2 conversion kicks, 1 penalty kick for 9.5 for him. Chicago side of things, the best player was Mason Flesh, who, again, continues to be a master at picking the ball up on the 2-meter line and finding a way to score a try. Does it again in this game. 33 meters gained, try scored, 14 tackles in the full 80. And then Noah Brown with the pretty try gets 14 points for him. Dylan Fawcett, the butcher, also finds a way to get into the try zone off of the backs, the set piece. Try 10 meters gained, 16 tackles for him. Again, 27-17 victory for New England, who is now beginning to separate itself at the top of the Eastern Conference.
We should have a spot right under bonus team on our roster. We should slot in referees, and then you get points based off of red and yellow cards. My insiders,
that'd be the highest scoring position.
Yeah, my insiders are not happy with. I think his name, On Slemmy, something like that.
Well, a lot of people ain't happy with him.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of hate. A
lot of people aren't happy with him, and I think we should just say, you're doing your best, bud.
Slot him in.
And maybe just tone it down on the mic a little bit.
Playoffs right now.
Yeah.
Maybe just, don't talk sometimes.
All right. Well, with that being said, let's head on off to our second Saturday game, the one on ESPN2. Sabercats against the San Diego Legion. And what was supposed
Houston introduced themselves to ESPN2.
And what was supposed to be the match of the week, outside of maybe the Free Jack Chicago one, ended up not being that, because Houston decided to say, you know what, we're going to just take care of business here and just run away with this thing. San Diego had been on somewhat of the emergence here in terms of trying to get back on the right track, but they got pumped this one, losing 37-20.
They just lost the physical battle. I mean, you just see the Houston forwards and the Houston centers just like absolutely dominating this game. So I mean, that's like the most classic way for Houston to win. I think we have to be concerned about San Diego here. San Diego, I mean, defensively, they don't look good. They're obviously letting a lot of points in. And offensively, even a lot of those points are coming in from the forwards. A lot of those points coming in from the maul. Not something you necessarily see from a stereotypical San Diego Legion side.
Yeah, I think it was 4 set piece tries.
Yeah, it's like, I think it was all of them. There's all
Yeah.
of them.
I mean, and Brad Wilkin was the big benefactor of that. Say it, Maddie. What is he?
Man, kiss with fire.
And he did pretty good in this one. He was one of the lone bright spots of the San Diego Legion side, again, benefiting off of the set piece, but 19.7 fantasy points for him. You can put in Shiloh Klein in there, 11.3, who also scored
Off
the
the
double
bench.
off the bench with the set piece tries. But outside of that, pretty grim here for San Diego. I mean, when
Whoa, San Diego Legion bonus
yeah,
point, 9
when
points. Ryan, call them
when
out.
your third highest fantasy point scorer is the bonus point set piece at 9 fantasy points, you
Yeah, you got an
have an
issue.
issue.
That's
You have an
that's
issue.
tough.
That's tough. Let's talk about the Houston side of things though, because no shortage of points there. Dom Aquina, Vandy, we were talking about it off air, like 19.4 fantasy points for him. Aquina looked great and just absolute. What is it? He scooped that up, right, and just went the distance. Went
See
the
you, bud.
distance. 96
Yep.
meters gained.
That's what he does every time. Every try he
I
scores.
know it is true. It is.
Every try he scores, it's from a distance. It's like that's
Yeah.
where all of his meters gain come from. And then this game, he decided to throw in a cheeky little chip over the top to Tuola Tasi. Love when centers assist each other. That was
Hey,
sweet.
he does
So-
now
The
have.
Davey Coates bump, man.
Yeah.
When you get great players back, it injects your team with like
I
I'm
will
not gonna
say though,
steroids.
I'm glad that you brought it back to Davey Kutzer before we get into some of these other fantasy points because Maddie wouldn't let me talk about it in the news segment. Aside from that, Aquina, a try in 3 straight games.
Here's
So
your
great for
layup.
him.
Here's your layup.
I don't think we're going to be seeing Davey Kutzer again. This is not from any news, but I think he came back too early because the guy on a kick pulls up his leg and has to get subbed off.
True.
So there is possibility here that Ryan's intel was
Do you even know that this was the same injury?
it was his hamstring. It was his leg. I mean, I don't know which leg. I can only assume that
Hey,
they're
you get that from the same sources?
yeah. Well, either way,
Hey, they just want to hold on to first in the West, and I don't blame them. We're right there.
I don't blame him. But
But
again,
I do
Davey,
agree
I
with
guess
you, Ryan.
what I'm saying, all jokes aside, I don't know what the severity of this potential re-injury, if it is a re-injury or I guess this new injury. I can only imagine though, a guy's not who has kicks for his life or who kicks for a living is literally the easiest kick ever, right in front of the post, just puts it through and just pulls up and can't walk off the field. So I can only imagine it is a re-injury.
Fair.
Davey Coates owners, take note. I don't know at this point in time what
just
the
drop him.
severity of what the severity of it is. But don't be surprised if he is not in the lineup coming up this week. Either way, be on watch for any Davey Kutzer injury news. Let's shift back though to some fantasy point performers. Johan Mumsen, 13.2. Maddie, you had him on your radar when it comes to a nice second row play as a waiver
Yeah, he
wire
needs to
call.
be back row though. This needs to be changed.
He is a back row player. That is true. 13.2 for him. Drew Wild, 11.4 with 83 meters gain and trices. He looked pretty solid. And then the last double-digit point performer, Marno Redalingus, 10.8 fantasy points with 27 meters, 17 tackles for him.
Like that.
All right. Final matchup to chat about. RFC Los Angeles at home taking on Anthem Rugby Carolina. RFC LA took care of business. Anthem tried to get back into it. Wasn't going to be enough. 45-17 victory for RFC LA as they
Anthem
get
stink.
back in the win column.
LA won this with like a red card for half the
Yeah.
game.
It's true.
Well, they were chipping away.
No, I was
with
looking
the
at jam
goal
delay
line.
stats. LA is like one of the most penalized
Yes,
teams ever.
and I've said this on this show before that if they
Yeah, what
don't,
about
they
it?
have been shooting themselves in the foot every time. They would have won last week's game against Seattle if they had not gotten those yellow cards. And now their playoff
They
hopes
can't help
lay in the
themselves.
balance of how they play against Utah to when future.
They can't help themselves.
They
They're
can't.
playing Uno constantly.
Yeah. So either way, I guess not much. I mean,
They got to
this-
get those reverse cards, eh? They toss one at the
Yeah.
ref, boom, then they kick him out of the game.
But they just keep drawing pickup four.
Yeah. But some fantasy point performers out of this. Jason Dahm, 19 and a half fantasy points. I got to look at it, but he has been one of the best second row performers here, averaging around
Yeah.
7 fantasy points with the chances of.
Remember when you left him out of your top five?
I did it. Yes. You know what? You got to say when you lose, and this was one where I definitely missed on this one. I whiffed on that one. Billy Meeks has been solid this season. I get it. You can argue with maybe some of his decision making on the field that has contributed to some of these tough LA losses, but from a fantasy stance, double-digit fantasy point performances all season long, except for four, and out of those four, three of them were just short at around 8 fantasy points. So 3 straight weeks now that he's been in double digits. He's now scored a try in 6 straight games. That's incredible.
Weapon.
61 meters gained, try assist with a nice little boot, 8 tackles, and another try in this one. 15.5 fantasy points for him. Rory Van Voot, 13.6 with 98 meters gained and 6 tackles. Ed Timpson, 12.4 with the 22 tackles. 8 meters gained, so 12 meters short of a 2020 there. That would like to call it. Nay, Vogan Isaacs.
Yeah, but he got the 2 try assists.
2 try assists. Vogan
and the one steal.
Vogan Isaacs. Good to see.
He's back.
Good to see him
Back, baby.
11.8 fantasy points in the 2 matches that he's played this season. Double-digit fantasy points. I'm sitting here of what could have been because I think Vogan Isaacs, again, they have a stacked back 3 to play around with, and I get it. He's returning from injury, but he was so electric on the Dallas Jackals, and to see him perform like this, he now has 96 meters gained in his first appearance with LA, 79 meters gained in this past appearance. Man, maybe we'll see it next year.
Maybe.
Or more of this season. There's still a little bit more to go.
Shout out Ben Strang getting his first start of the year. Love that guy. 11.7 fantasy points with a try. What a beast.
Anthem Rugby Carolina side of things, 15.9 for Clive and Laubser with the 111 meters gained. And then Toby Fricker with the try is able to break double digits with 11.9. Not much else to be said about this matchup again. LA taking care of business when they should have.
Anthem still sucks.
All right, let's send it out to Future Ryan for the Utah Warriors Seattle Seawolves match. Vandy, before we send it out to him, though, predictions. I know who you're going with.
Utah by 10, baby.
Okay. Well, let's see if Future Ryan can make those hopes come true.
They're not hopes. Future Devin told me.
And boy, oh boy, Future Ryan back here again following the Utah Warriors matchup and how Vandy is going to eat his words. By 10, he says. By 10. No. How about a Seattle Seawolves last-minute comeback to take a victory 28-24? Not only did Vandy miss the mark there, not only did his boys not come through with the home victory. That would have been massive in the Western Conference standings. You'll hear a little bit later on in his betting segment. He makes a live bet here on the show about the number of points that are going to be scored here, and falling short with that one again. So rough Monday night and Utah Warriors matchup for Devin Vandy Vanderpool, in-house Utah Warriors fan here. But either way, let's talk about this matchup that did happen on the Monday night following the major portion of the recording of this podcast. But that's what Future Ryan's here for, to anecdotally and go in and update the people with things that went down here in that Monday night matchup, the first of the season. And it was an exciting match. I mean, back and forth affair between the Utah Warriors and Seattle Seawolves. And again, the Seattle Seawolves come up on top 28-24 with a last-minute try thanks to Rhino Herbst. And it's tough. Seattle, I think, has been on the up and up. And it is great to see what they have been doing. Utah, I think they are prone to some of these matchups at times. Again, when you look at where they stand right now, especially in this match, or especially in the points that they scored, largely capitalizing on a lot of Seattle mistakes, which is what good teams do. But again, when you're in a head-to-head race with the Houston Sabercats in the Western Conference for that first seed in the East, every single point counts. Now, they do find themselves still in that top spot in the West, now with the even amount of games played, 1 point ahead of the Houston Sabercats, which is going to come down to this weekend where they go head-to-head. Which will essentially push at least one of these teams with a little bit of a gap. Not finalize it, but at least push it a little bit more to who will have a little bit of cushion here to maybe take the Western Conference. The Seattle Seawolves side of things, they're now tied with the same exact record, 5-1-6 with RFC LA. That tie coming between those two teams. They do sit 2 points though behind LA for that final spot in the Western Conference. So again, Seattle has been turning it on. RFC LA. Obviously, with the easy matchup against Anthem, which we'll talk about, or which we've had talked about here, they are able to keep that fourth playoff spot in hand. But Seattle does look very good. Now, let's talk from a fantasy point side of things, because when you have 4 tries scored on both sides, you're going to have some pretty solid fantasy performances. And it starts off with Joe Mono doing Joe Mono things, because once again, it doesn't matter how. He's going to score a try. And now he's scored a try in 4 straight matches. He has 7 tries in the last 4 matches. He now has 12 on the season for what is the season or the league leading try pace right now. He scores 21.9 fantasy points in this one. He has 111 meters gained. Now with back-to-back games with triple-digit meters gained. And again, adds that try, 6 tackles, 2 breakdown, or 2 forced steals as well. Joe Mono, 21.9 for that performance. That also is the best performance of the week. On other Utah things, Joel Hodgson with another kind of steal and interception on an errant Nick Boyer pass, which is the first appearance that we've seen of Nick Boyer. It did look dynamic, but that mistake was almost very costly for the Seattle Seawolves. Nonetheless, Joel Hodgson capitalizes 18.7 fantasy points for his second best performance of the year. Has not been in double digits after basically not really having kicking duties with D'Angelo Leuila, but he hasn't had a double-digit fantasy point performance since round 6. He bounces back here, 18.7. Hasn't been terrible for you. He's been averaging around 6 to 9 points. But this was nice to see with that try, obviously, with the far meters that he ran, the farthest or second farthest of the season, 104 meters gained. He scores a try as well, his 4th of the season, 6 tackles, a turnover forced as well, gives him 18.7 fantasy points. 2 more guys that we got to mention from the Utah Warriors side of things. Lance Williams, being dynamic as we've seen him in the past, his best of the year by far. Try assist, 18 tackles, 14 meters gained in the full 80 played, plus 2 breakdown steals, 13.8 fantasy points for his first double-digit fantasy point performance of the year. And D'Angelo Leuila with the 2 conversion kicks he made, also 67 meters gained. I mean, Leuila is so fun to watch. Just a big body that loves to hit those lines. Don't have him on my fantasy squad anywhere, but wish I did, because Leuila is a fun player to watch. On the Seattle side of things, more of a team effort here. A lot of their tries kind of coming off of phases that began with the scrum and really starting in the within 5-10 meters of the Utah zone. So you're not going to get as many fantasy points when it comes to that, especially when you tack on those big meters gained by Mono and Hodgson off those steals. But Devon Rousseau, 11 fantasy points for him. Kind of a mediocre performance on what he's been doing. But yeah, he still has 4 double-digit performances in the past 5 games, 11 fantasy points in this one. Like I said, 55 meters gained plus 5 tackles and 2 forced turnovers. And then you also have Aina Fudi, who did leave the match, I'm pretty sure, with a potential injury, but in the 56 minutes, he was able to log, still scored 82 meters, a try, and 13.5 fantasy points in total. And then to round out Seattle, Rhino Herbst with that last-minute try, 10.6 fantasy points. So pretty solid fantasy point performances all around in this one. Utah, though, not able to pull it off for Vandy here. That 10-point prediction not looking so hot, and even bigger heartbreaker with that last-minute try. So with that being said, hey, let's start looking ahead to the waiver wire here and send it back to past Ryan and Matt and Vandy.
Waiver wire breakdown.
All right, thanks again to future Ryan. We don't know how the match went at this time, but hey, we can only imagine if
probably
Great
sick Monday nighter.
Really does a heck of a job. Truly.
He knows what he's doing. All right, let's talk a little waiver wire breakdown here. Again, kind of a weird week. There's gonna be some big waiver wire claims happening here. My advice to people here is, if you're hanging on the thread.
Wait, sorry. Sorry, advice from present Ryan or future Ryan?
This is present Ryan now.
Okay,
I'm
okay,
probably
okay.
wearing a different shirt. You know if it's future Ryan. You know if it's future.
You got to wear the
Oh.
same shirt, dude,
To confuse him.
to confuse him. Present Ryan, tell future Ryan to wear the same. I don't know how that works.
Yeah.
Future Ryan already know. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, your brain's going to explode there.
Yeah, my brain, I just short circuited.
Brains in a pretzel.
My advice for fantasy managers out there, including
Yeah.
myself, who are on the cusp of maybe or maybe not making playoffs. If you need a starter and you need to make a play here, if you have a full IR and you need to get rid, like Jason Petros, for example, right? Like, let's say you have 3 guys on IR. You have, and you need
3 guys.
You need to make it and you need the roster move. These are some of the decisions you have to make in this final regular season. If you need the win, if you need the space, got to pick up a guy, make that move, because you'll be kicking yourself next week if you shoulda, coulda, woulda, because you're trying to hold on to a guy that may or may not appear here in your fantasy playoffs moving forward. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Sure.
I like it.
All right, makes sense.
Don't agree with it, but sure.
What do you think? So you think you are on the cusp of making playoffs, and you have 3 guys on IR. You keep Jason Petros.
They're on IR. What are they doing? They're not taking.
I'm saying
roster
3.
spot.
If you have 3 guys on IR, because there's some people out there that do, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm keeping like I don't know. Maybe you're right. Who knows?
You know what I'm saying? I'm making sense here.
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
But like, what if Potros is named back in the lineup this week and you dropped him?
That's true. that would suck.
That would stink.
That would stink.
That would stink a lot. There's got to be. If you got 3 guys in IR, I bet you there's a better one to drop than Potros.
No. To the Patros owner, drop him. Great advice.
I'm just saying a
Please.
hypothetical situation where you have 3, a bad luck, where you have 3 guys that are, But yes, I agree with you. We'll see.
This is where I'll say it, Ryan. If there's a guy on your bench that you haven't started all year, you are not going to start him now.
That's true.
Drop him. You think you're going to start him? You're never going to start him. You haven't started him for the past 13 rounds. So what's going to mean you're going to start him for the next 14 ones? So drop him. Drop those guys. Like a guy for me is like Julian Roberts. I picked him up on waivers. Haven't put him in my lineup once. Time to go, buddy.
No, that's solid
When
advice.
do I slot in Semi Kunitani?
Yeah, definitely drop him.
All right. Honestly, that's actually probably a decent play too. Like, that would have been a better example. Semi Kunitani, a guy that you spent high draft capital on. No point in wasting now. Someone might pick him up.
Drafted him.
Yeah, who drafted him? Exactly. All right. Well, let's get into some waiver wire advice on who you may be dropping some of these guys for. Let's get into the front row position. Maddie, anyone that you see here as you go down the list that you like that could be a play this week?
Kind of tough. Looking at Seth Smith, I mean, every time he starts, he seems to have a decent game. 7 coming off the backs of a 60-minute, 7.8 fantasy points. The real question is kind of when is he going to start? But outside of him, I didn't really find anybody else that maybe could be picked up. The only other one we did talk about him last week is Ben Sugars, who maybe comes back into that starting lineup and is 14% owned. Even though he didn't really get any minutes last week.
That would be my play. Another one that I would say too is keep an eye on Aki Seuili. He's a guy that loves to get tackles. We haven't seen him in a bit here. Just with the delay, and we'll figure out in terms of the action that he sees tonight. Or I should say Monday at the time of this recording. Future Ryan knows. He does like to tackle a lot. And I think
present or tense is all messed
I know.
up.
And I think the Houston Sabercats, their matchup on Saturday, he will be needed for that defensive play. So that's something. But I would prioritize Ben Sugars over that. I would imagine Ben Sugars gets into the lineup here as LA takes on Chicago in a pretty important game. And he could maybe cash in on a try here from the set piece. New England was able to do it this past week. It wasn't Quattrin, which I definitely desperately needed, but they did cash in on this set piece, and Ben Sugars might be that guy. All right, second row position. What are we thinking here?
I like Sam Caird. I'm back on the Sam Caird train. He's been dropped because he was out for a lot, I think, with injury. But the past 2 weeks, or past, I guess, 4 weeks, with I think week 11 they're on bye. 6.1 fantasy points, 4.7 fantasy points, 6.5, 9.3 in the past week, playing a full 80 with 21 tackles. We saw a little bit of this in the first few weeks that he played, and we expected this throughout the season. If he can come back to form like that and continue with this kind of over five 5 fantasy points as a second rower. He is 29% owned right now. He is definitely a good pickup.
Yeah. I will say that those tackle numbers, I mentioned it last week. Future Ryan not even needed. That when you face Chicago, expect tackle numbers to be high just with the way they play, and that fits Sam Kerr's game
You love
right
that
away.
stat.
I do. I've mentioned it, I think, every single week for the
You
past handful
love
of
that
episodes. And
stat.
it turned out. Sam Kerr, over 20 tackles. The guy that I'm saying though is Tavita Nakali. I had him picked up the week before when he scored a try. And he has a great opportunity to do that here against Anthem Rugby Carolina on Sunday. He typically plays a decent amount of time when he starts. Two out of the past 3 matchups where he has started, he's played the 80. He has 2 out of those 3 matches. He's also scored tries. I think he has a chance to do that against Anthem Rugby Carolina. All right, let's go on to the back row position now. Maddie, what are we thinking about those big boys back there?
Kind of tough. I'm gonna go with OJ Noah. We'll see how he does in the game against Utah, starting at 8. But he's had some pretty good opportunities. Every time he's been in the back row, he's had a pretty decent game in like round 11. I think that was the weekend game of round 11. He started in the back row with 10.4 fantasy points, full 80 minutes played. So I like him. I wouldn't drop too much on him. He's not like a super. I don't see any guys that I absolutely love, but he's 14% owned. It might be a nice little streamer option.
Yeah. I would say Tim Anstey, I think if he starts, would be a good play. Again, they face Chicago. What does Chicago do? Tackle. Lots of tackling in that game. I think Tim Anstey, you're not going to get the full 80 out of him. He rarely plays the full 80. Usually Semi Kunatani is coming on for him. But he does have a try in 2 straight games. And you add the tackle numbers to that too. Maybe Tim Anstey's able to do something.
Yeah, the only other thought for me is like if you're really desperate and you're like, hey, I need a back row that I think can score high points, you're going for an Old Glory DC guy, Jama Fanana Schultz, Corey Daniel, Colin Gross potentially gets a start. You can definitely have a go at them and have them before the lineup comes out.
All right, scrum half time. Scrum half is a barren wasteland. I guess the play this week was Juan D. Oliver, who continues to play on the back 3.
Third on the wing.
8.6 fantasy points. So
yeah, does it count if he played 14? I guess it does in your scrum half spot.
It does. So,
but I'm concerned about a lot of 9s. I mean, we look at guys like Richard Judd playing basically 45 minutes, pretty much.
He got hurt. Game. I don't know what happened because he only played.
Yeah,
he only played 17 minutes this last game. So I don't know what happened.
It wasn't great.
I didn't see what Richard Judd.
But I'm gonna bring up Ishmael Safodi.
He was good.
I mean, he came on off the bench, played
40 minutes.
40 minutes and absolutely stepped a couple guys to go in for a try. Fantasy purposes, yes, his team is crap, but fantasy purposes, he likes to run with the ball. Something that at the 9 position you love to see and have on your team.
I'm not really banking on anyone from a waiver wire perspective, but just keep an eye out on Juan D. Oliver again. See if he maybe gets a spot start on the wing once again coming up this week. Again, that's the play. He's probably going to be my start of the week if that happens too, because again, just the likelihood of you scoring a try.
So original.
I know, right? All right, fly half position.
Who cares?
I know. What are you even going to pick up at this point in time?
I have no clue. Actually, I do like Dorian Jones and Cliven Lobser. I actually do think that Anthem are going to go very hard.
How hard?
That's it.
What about if Ryan's right and AJ Alatimu?
That'll be a good play too. I would if I was the Coaster, if I was the
I'm actually surprised AJ's 29% owned.
If I was the Coaster owner, I would pick up Alatimu for sure. No question about it. Even have perspective.
I just think for me, AJ Alatimu, you're getting a really just so much average and mediocrity.
Outside of
out of most of his performances. Like if that's what you need, great. Get AJ Alatimu. You just need consistency. You just need a guy who's going to score maybe 3 or 4 points. He's not going to put up a donut or put up an egg. Then he's a good pick. I think if you're looking for a guy with a bit more opportunity, a bit more ceiling, a guy who started at 10 in the last couple games for the Anthem, Cliven Lobster for me. He's going to probably provide you with the best opportunity to get a high number of
I
points.
agree with that. All right, let's move on to the center position. For me, I'm going to say it again. Said it last week. Isaac Tutamaki.
Well, only caveat, Ryan, only if you don't need this week. You don't need him this week.
Fair.
Mm.
Fair. That is true because they do play that Tuesday match. Screw this scheduling stuff, man. I don't get these rounds. I do not get these rounds. Makes fantasy so tough.
Well,
Obviously.
you have to. Okay, Ryan.
I will say, interesting. Does it appear he didn't do anything this past week, but maybe he can get something done against Old Glory. Does the perspective that Eric Storty starting at fullback do anything for you?
How do you do?
Not great. 6 fantasy points.
Well, doesn't that say it all, does it?
Yes, but I mean, against LA, nothing. No.
One of the worst defensive teams.
Yeah, that's true. Tassie.
He tried.
Tassie is
I like Tassie.
safe play.
He's just try dependent, man. He's just try dependent. Like he scores a try, he'll get you points. It's nothing big. Again, yeah. Like I would say he's one that's definitely to look at. Right. Question for you. And Vandy, question for you guys.
Shoot.
Would you drop Junior Gaffin if you needed to?
I would.
His highest point total is 21, and that came in round 4, and he hasn't broken double digits in any other games that he's played.
I would drop Junior Gotham.
Yeah, that's tough, eh?
He's played 80 minutes in 3 games out of the 8.
Yeah.
As a center. That's concerning. Yeah, if you're a Junior Goff owner, I agree. I think if you need a spot,
yes,
I would also drop him too.
Wow. How the mighty have fallen.
Dan Creel.
How the
Dan
mighty
Creel.
have fallen.
Yeah.
Dan Creel, you're dropping.
I feel like this year, outside of Devon Rousseau and Billy Meeks, and I guess you could throw D'Angelo Ela in there.
He's cheating a little bit though.
He is cheating a little bit with the kicking.
Centers have not been
not great. Not like what we used to see. Not
Well,
like
you
No,
can see like
Ryan
your Dom
James
McKean
running the
that'll
ship.
get you like 5 and then 20 the next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like I would drop Goffa for, let's say, Jensen. Like I get it, Matthias Jensen's been kind of lackluster the past couple weeks, but I mean double digit tackles. Like the floor for him is good, and then he just pops off for a 50-meter plus game. I think that's good, right?
Yeah, I like that. I like Old Glory DC guys. So
We'll see.
yeah,
Right.
we'll see. But definitely I would agree. Let's drop Goffa here. if you're
Okay,
a Goffa
so
owner.
just to recap, Tutamaki, if you are able to carry him into the playoffs, but if you need an option now, Jensen, good option. Yeah, if Nick Rigg is very highly owned, but Stephen Hughes, if he starts, like he goes get up against Anthem.
Sneaky start, Tommaso Boni.
Mm.
I'm telling you, he's going to be in there.
Okay. That's a good one. All right.
What a sneaky little
All right,
start.
Boney and Tamaki. If you don't need, that's good. 2 good things. All right. Back 3 players. Again, just largely try dependent. Perry Humphreys has looked great.
Yeah, and he's going against
He's going
Anthem.
against Anthem.
Would pick him up. This guy loves scoring tries, and he just signed a 3-year
Yeah.
contract.
So I think there's that. That's good. I'm Perry Humphreys all the way here.
Yeah, I like that. Just FYI to anybody who is hopeful about Villamoni Karoy, he is not in a midweek lineup, which means he is lost. So yeah, don't expect to see him and don't expect to ever pick him up.
Thoughts on Stephen Crimp?
Noah Brown or Stephen Crimp?
What
Has
about
he
him?
surpassed Rian Stowers? Like he's started in back-to-back weeks now.
Yeah. Do you remember that game that Rian Stowers had? That was it for him.
Okay.
There's no more Rian
Okay.
Stowers.
Yeah.
You will not see him anymore.
All right. Good to know. All right. And then defensive set piece, like we say every time on this show, punt. There'll be some changes in the future in valuing that position, but as of right now, that roster spot is more valuable. I will
You're
say
on to
though,
pick up Old Glory.
I will say, if you need a win this week, and you have Junior Goffa, you got to drop guys to fill your lineup. You got to get points everywhere that you can. But I don't know what that feels like needing a win. I'm in that spot.
Hey, yeah, me neither.
It is going, if Vandy does not with this Utah game, which future Ryan will know, if Vandy does not beat Rugby Morning this week, comes down to do or die for me and Fitzy for the last playoff
And
spot in Listener League.
I would pick up San Diego. I mean, yes, they've sucked, but their set piece has been fantastic. Like 3 points, 2 points, 7 points, 9 points. That's more than you can ask for from a set piece.
All right. Well, wait, that's the waiver wire segment. Let's move on to looking ahead to some matchups here.
Rucking Rundown.
All right, TFR Rucking Rundown for Week 14, the final regular season week of the Fantasy MLR season. Obviously, we'll know more about the Utah Warriors and Seattle Seawolves matchup that's happening. Future Ryan will know that. But one that's happening tonight at the time of recording this podcast, not fantasy relevant. Old Glory DC versus NOLA. Old Glory DC at home.
I already picked NOLA for the Jack Rangers pick, so I'm going NOLA.
I think I picked NOLA as well.
I picked NOLA as well.
Right, so we're NOLA off the board here.
I stink.
What?
Yeah, well,
What do you want, Matt? What do you want?
Sorry.
All right. We start off fantasy sense wise though. Friday, 7:30 Eastern time. Free Jacks visiting down south in Miami. Miami Sharks, New England Free Jacks. This one should be interesting. I expect a New England win here, so you can pot that down for me. But I think fantasy wise, I think there's value here even on both sides. Miami has been adequate here, and I would like to see them in a dry weather game, and hopefully that can come here this weekend.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Miami's going to put on a good showing, but I agree, New England Free Jacks. I wanted to go Miami, but that just wouldn't be the smart decision, going New England Free Jacks.
Andy?
Gotta be. Gotta be.
All right. I will say I do like Thomas Kubisha in this one at the center if he starts. I do like what he could do.
Interesting.
All right. The next matchups then happen on Saturday. We got two on Saturday. We have the Houston Sabercats and the Utah Warriors. Depending on the result that future Ryan knows, we will see whether or not we have a battle of the Western Conference. So if Utah had won at the time of this, they will be at the top, but Houston does have a chance to kind of lock it back up because Utah has that game had that game in hand. We'll see how that goes, but this one should be our matchup of the week. I mean, we know what Vandy's going. I've been enjoying.
Yeah, I'm going opposite Vandy. I'm going Houston.
Oh, okay, I'm going Utah. If Matthew's going Houston, I wanted to be different on this one, but I do love seeing Vandy happy and his Utah boys doing well. It's fun. It's fun seeing Utah doing well, and I love how.
Yeah, that's not what you said earlier. You said you love seeing me cry.
I didn't say that. That was Matthew. That was Matthew all the way. I did not say that.
I get you confused.
Yeah, I know. We look similar. All right. And then
I didn't say.
All right, and then heading into the next matchup. I'm trying to pull it up here. Did I? Oh, here we go. Next Saturday matchup, Battle of the West, Seattle Seawolves, San Diego Legion, Seattle at home, 9 p.m.
Battle of the bottom of the table.
This one's interesting. Yeah. San Diego. They are sticking in it in that playoff spot, but again, have not looked great.
And they got a game in hand.
That is true. So, again, we'll know more after the Seattle matchup against Utah that future Ryan has brought up. But what do we...
I'm going Seattle.
Okay.
Ooh.
I'll go San Diego in this one. I think this is actually a very close matchup. Seattle has been on the up and up. I wish we would have been able to make this prediction after seeing the Utah game. Future Ryan knows, so I guess he can change the pick. But I'll go San Diego right now. Seattle for Maddie. Vandy for you.
Oh, what's up, dude?
What does Louis think?
That's Louis what he picks.
Give Louis picks.
Louis, you gotta help me here. You gotta look at these
Vandy's
pictures.
boy Louis making a guest appearance.
They're called Seattle Seawolves, and that's the San Diego Legion. Which cooler? Points.
As anticipatory as it gets. This is the biggest decision.
You picked the Seawolves.
Oh,
let's go.
Louis is a Seawolves guy. There we go. So Seattle for
Utah.
Louis and Devin. Vandy Vanderpool. Team effort there. All Last matchup of the weekend, Sunday, we got Anthem, Rugby, Carolina, and Old Glory DC. Does Anthem come away with a victory here? You know what? Screw it. Screw it. If there's a chance that it's going to happen, let's do it. I'm going Carolina in this one.
You gotta be joking me.
Yeah, okay, I'll go Glory DC.
Okay.
What a tough one.
What's
Don't
my
lie,
record
though, Matt.
again?
If we all went DC, you would have gone Carolina.
No, not anymore. I've lost all my hope.
All right.
Dude, they look so defeated after LA put up those 3 tries. I
Yeah.
don't even know if they got the heart anymore. Oh, Old Glory.
Okay.
Yep.
Don't make it like that was harder than it needs to be. All right. And then lastly, fantasy purposes, Chicago Hounds, RFCLA. Let's make the predictions here on this show since it sits in our fantasy week. I am going to go with RFCLA in this one.
Me too.
Damn, me too.
All right. Everyone LA.
Same, but different.
Same. All right. Well, wait, there is our TFR Rucking rundown of the week. We'll see how everyone does. Wrap up the show here talking a little bit about money.
TFR
nailed the
Betting
lines last week.
Challenge.
All right, it's time for our TFR Betting Challenge brought to you by Betstamp. Betstamp Betting made easy. Check the link out down below for some new user deals for some free bets on sports books available in your area. It's a cool little link. It does curate all the available sports books, and you got to hunt them down sometimes when it comes to Major League Rugby because it sometimes appears on some sports books, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it's available on others, sometimes it's not available on others. I've been rotating through 3. Fanatics, Bet Rivers, and DraftKings, and it's always a crapshoot on which one's available. But it's good to have all 3, and you can kind of line shop sometimes when they're available on multiple ones. So hey, check out that link down below, support the show, and get some free bets while you're at it too. Maddie, yeah, I think you did nail the lines pretty good this past week, and they were tough lines too. Very tough lines. Enough
And
so
I crushed them.
that Vandy, let us know down below if you're listening or if you're watching on the YouTube video, was it a cop-out that Vandy and I did not make any picks this week because we did not like the line?
Yeah, it was. It was a cop out.
Nope.
Because you're supposed to make picks every week.
Bet is not to bet.
Do you know what? That is true. That is true because we promote responsible gambling
That's
on the
right.
show.
That's true. Yeah, it was good lines, Maddie. You were very, very close. I'm looking at it now. Yeah, pretty solid there.
Well, Ryan, what's the line for tonight?
The line for
Well, I don't know what the 10 said I'm supposed to use. What's the line for the NOLA Old Glory DC game that is happening on May 13th, Tuesday?
not out yet.
Buddy, they release them like the morning.
They
of.
literally do. They literally release. Let's. I'm gonna double check.
All right. Well, I guess I'm gonna guess them. I just wanted to know whether I
Okay,
need to guess them or not.
did you guess the Utah Seattle line last week?
Yeah, I did.
What'd you say it was?
Pretty sure I said Utah favored by like
You said
5.5 or something.
You said. I'm pulling up right here. You said.
Utah 5.5.
No. Utah 10.5.
Close. 8.5.
Let's go.
8.5. Yeah. So,
Crushed it.
another line that I don't like. 8.5 is asking for a lot. But
Wanna
yes,
do a live bet.
it is true. Seattle Seawolves, Utah is the only one that's up right now, at least at the time of this recording the podcast. Hey, maybe future Ryan can tune in and give us some lines that do come in. But either way, Maddie, let's roll it. Let's talk about the lines that you have for this week.
Yeah. So I guess we'll start with tonight or Tuesday, the Tuesday matchup, Old Glory DC versus NOLA. Well, this is kind of a tough one, but I'm going to say that NOLA is going to be favored by 5.5 here. And I expect Old Glory DC to cover
You
that.
like that one?
Yeah, I think Old Glory DC.
I think I honestly would take if Old Glory DC are the dogs there, I think I would go DC.
Yeah,
either way.
I agree. Miami Free Jacks. I'm gonna go Free Jacks favored by 12.5, and I am going to hammer that underdog for Miami to cover the spread there. Utah versus Houston. I think Houston's going to come in favored by 2.5.
And I would take that. I would take that underdog again. I think I'm about the dogs this week.
Yeah, I would also take that. I don't know if you'll get too much from that, but yeah, I would take that. Seattle versus San Diego. I think San Diego is coming in as underdogs. Crazy to say it, but I do think San Diego is going to come in as underdogs at 3.5.
And I would hammer that too.
Yep. And I would definitely.
We about the dogs this week. Matt, give me a wolf.
I don't know about that. Wait, when I say San Diego would be the dogs, yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I'd hammer that. I think Seattle is going to win this one. Old Glory DC, favored by 18.5.
All right.
Nah, I'd stay away from these. Anthem's not going to cover anymore. The first 5 rounds, they're covering Masters. Every other round, they forgot how.
Okay.
So that's dumb. Chicago versus RCLA. I think Chicago comes in favored. I think they will be favored by some crazy number, like 8.5. And I would take RCLA.
If they are favored any more than a try, I think I'm taking
any more than a try. I would take it.
All right. Sounds good. All right. We'll keep an eye out for those lines.
The 2 ones that I like, Miami, New England. If Miami has a big enough spread, I would say any spread over 10, I would take Miami to cover. Chicago, LA, any spread that is over a try, I would take LA to cover.
Danny, what are you showing us there?
Live bet, baby.
What are you placing?
I took the over on the Utah game for tonight. $10.
All right.
Let's go.
55.5 points. Knowing Utah will probably go up like 30 in the first half, and they'll make a hell of a comeback.
Yeah.
Joe Mono will do something sick as he does.
There you go. All right. Well, hey, that's what the TFR Betting Challenge brought to you by Betstamp is all about. Making live bets here on this show, which is great. All right. Well, hey, if you want to get in on the action, again, check out that link down below. Sportsbooks curated in your area. Again, MLR hit or miss when it comes to releasing those lines and where they're available. So what better way to make sure you're in tune by checking out all the sports books available in your area using the link down below. Sign up, get free bets, bet on those MLR games, and hey, you support the show while you're at it too. Again, the TFR Betting Challenge presented by Betstamp. All right. Well, hey, boys, great show. That was a lot of fun. And we'll find out from future Ryan what happened in that Utah game. I guess at this point we already know. He's released it. He's talked about it. So, Vandy.
Wait, sorry. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, no, I was right. 10 points.
All right. Well, hey, anything else you have for the people, Matt, Vandy?
Don't be like me. If you're going to say the best bet is the not bet and then bet 5 minutes after that, be true to your word, be better than me.
Remember when this segment was called Triple D Devin's Degenerate Gambles? Yeah. It's
hey, just because the name changes doesn't mean Vandy's any less of a degenerate.
That's true. All right. Well, hey, good luck to all our fantasy managers in the final week of the Fantasy MLR regular season. Make some good decisions. Take our advice or don't take our advice on this show. And we'll see you on the other side when it comes to Fantasy MLR playoffs. For Matt Yee, for Devin Vandy Vanderpool, I am Ryan Yee. We'll see you next week on another episode of the Fantasy Ruckers Show.
Let's go.
You've been listening to the Fantasy Ruckers Show, bringing fantasy rugby to the masses, covering everything rugby from the MLR and beyond. We hope you enjoyed the show. Make sure to like, rate, and review, and be sure to tell all your friends. We'll be back soon, but in the meantime, connect with us on social media at the Fantasy Ruckers. Till next time, this is the Fantasy Ruckers Show, signing off.